Hi and welcome to another video on the channel. I am Manali. I'm a podcast producer and I have today with me Mendy Green. Mendy Green is a video producer who has been producing videos for more than 7 years, and he works with startups to large scale corporations to deliver money making videos. Mendy is joining us on the channel today to talk about the before, after, and in between the recording sessions. So let's get started. Before one hits the record button on the camera, there are different things that need to be taken care of. One of them being scripting narratives for the videos. Let's see what Mendy has to share.
Absolutely. So this is actually something that I've learned in the last 6 months of my career is perfecting when do you script and when do you go unscripted. And for the better part of the beginning of my career, I was very much in the opinion of scripted content is where it's at. If you're trying to be productive and you're trying to get things done and you're not trying to memorize lines and spend hours and hours with the cameras rolling but you messing up, then have it scripted on a teleprompter. Don't memorize your lines. If you're trying to tell someone an entire course or an entire story, don't memorize it. You'll be way better off if you plan it out and put it on a teleprompter. Now, what I've learned since is actually that there is a place for non-scripted content, and that is with interviewing people. Exactly what we're doing right now is I had no idea what answers I was going to give you when you asked me. I'm going off the cuff. I'm telling you naturally what's coming to my mind, and this type of content is much, in a way, it's easier to create if you have the right things to say and you're good at delivering and you're naturally good at having conversation. Then this is a wonderful option because we are creating so many micro videos and an entire podcast and a whole YouTube video right now in this moment, and none of this is scripted. So the gold nuggets that come out of non-scripted videos are undeniable, and to ignore them and not pay attention to them would be a huge mistake for business owners. So there's a place for both. My mind and my approach currently is when we're making your website videos and we're asking your clients to give you testimonial, different things like that, unless we're interviewing them and if you want them to say something specific, you script it for them. It's unfair to have them just say it off the cuff. So there's the corporate videos, the branding videos. There's a mix now. We incorporate both scripted and non-scripted content to achieve business owners' goals.
Whether you choose to have a script or plan to read the script through the teleprompter, if you're just getting started, it might be weird for some folks to, sit down and look into the pinhole camera and talk. Camera consciousness is real. Believe me. Mendy has some tips that you can use to become camera friendly.
In becoming very comfortable on camera, and not just comfortable but confident, where you're coming when you're on camera, you are really delivering points. You're thoughtful and creative, and you can be in the moment and be your best self. So how does that come about to be is practice, 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 and practicing also in moments that don't matter. So filming yourself, like literally like going on camera or talking in the mirror, but speaking to an inanimate object is something that takes getting used to. Practice is the number one thing to help someone get comfortable on camera. The second thing I would say is pretend like your camera is a really good friend of yours. You are just out to eat and they asked you a story and now you're telling them a story. It's very lighthearted. When you're talking to your friends, you don't feel that pressure to have something incredible, smart, and wonderful to say. You don't have to be like full of wisdom. You could just be yourself. And that's how I recommend people become really comfortable on camera, is practice and then pretend that your camera is a really good friend of yours.
Lights, camera, and action is the first thing that comes to mind when you say you're filming videos. Lighting plays a huge role in portrayal of sentiments in the scene. Like, for example, most human beings default to being scared of dark. which probably explains why all the ghost movies are shot in the dark. So, using lighting techniques can heavily impact the mood of your video. Mendy has a simple technique that you can use to lighten and brighten the mood of your videos.
Just to look at my lighting right now. So this is purposefully lit. So what you have right now is 3 lights. Generally, when I would light a client, I might use 3 in total, but let me break it down. We have 1 huge light right here. Now, the bigger your light source is, the softer the light is on your face, the better you look. So this can be, if you have a light that starts this big, but you have a softbox on it, and you can Google softbox, and you have, it's like a light dome that shapes the light towards you, that actually makes your light, the light source, way bigger. So this is a rule to remember, is the bigger your light source, the better you'll look. So that's, so starting, I have 1 light right here, off, like not directly on, not directly pointing to my face, but off on an angle. It's pointing downwards. Yeah, it's on an axis. It's pointing downwards at a 45-degree angle, and the bottom of the softbox matches up with my chin. And that's how you know where to have it. The closer you can have it, the better as well. So the closer your light is, the less shadows, the more friendly and more beautiful you look. So that's the first tip. Generally in your videos, you want to come off as warm and friendly. That's why I gave some tips that I'm using right now with this huge light to create the soft light on my face. The reason why there's hard light over here is because I have a backlight that's quite bright. It's at like full power, and it creates this hard light around the edge of my head, and that separates me from the background. And then over here, I have a very, in the corner, I have this very orange light. And I set these color temperatures purposefully. So this main light, the color temperature is matched up with my main camera. Then these backlights, because I'm looking for like a warmer look, I made them on a lower Kelvin. Kelvin is how color temperature is metered and measured. So I purposefully do that to create a warm ambiance. When creating videos for your business, I highly recommend that everyone take the warm, friendly approach as opposed to the horror, dark, moody sort of look. It creates like a sort of mystery, and people don't really want to do business with people who are mysterious. They want to know who they're doing business with. So that's my recommendation.
Simply put, you need to start using 3 lights: one to light you up, one to light up your background, and the other one to create a distinction between you and your background. Ever watched a horror film on mute? Doesn't look scary, right? Sound plays a huge role in influencing sentiments while viewer sees the video, be it the vocals or the sound effects or even the background music. Each has its role in the video. Let's see how a video producer sees sound to enhance videos.
Absolutely. So the role of music in video is massive. It is music and sound. So when we're on the topic of sound, I also want to include like audio, like mics and stuff. So let's first hit the music part. Music is like when we were talking about storytelling and how that just speaks to us and how our minds are just interested in stories, is the same way that music just speaks to us and like just brings us into a moment and so easily helps us feel certain emotions. So keeping that in mind, knowing that it's possibly the most powerful tool to invoke human emotion is music. Knowing that gives the music in your projects tremendous power, and keeping that in mind will help your music be purposeful, match up to the mood that you're trying to evoke, and it plays possibly like it's like 45% of your video is the music that you choose, which is probably why creators, as just like a unanimous thing, we all relate on the fact that it takes forever to pick music for projects. It's such a huge decision to make. So then there's sound effects, and these are things like whooshes, and there's another thing called a riser, which is like and it like leads you to a moment, and you're kind of like waiting for something. And that like sound effects can also, if someone crumples a paper and you hear the paper crumpling, it just brings the viewer in an entire new dimension. They feel like they're there in a whole new immersive way. So that is music and sound effects. And then the third thing that has to do with sound is quality mics and knowing how to use your mics and capturing quality audio. That people will watch low quality video and never ever absorb something with low quality audio. They hate it. It's an assault on their ears, and it's disrespectful to post videos expecting people to listen to them in the car and enjoy and consume it when it's like it's so disrespectful. Why are you in your front yard with cars going by, and then you still expect that people are going to come to the event that you're doing a promo for? Like, forget it. Be realistic. People are not listening to wind noise in your videos. Like, they're just gonna scroll. And like, I'm a huge believer in, if you want someone to listen to what you're saying, like, make it easy to listen to. So quality mics, knowing how to use your mics, using windscreens when you go outside, and yeah, that's I think that's my spiel on sound with video.
So, as a podcast producer, I have been working on a wide variety of episodes over the past 2 years, and I have a confession to make. In my experience, editing alone cannot compensate for average content. If your retention rates, average view duration are low, you need to focus on your content first before anything else. Mendy has also been producing videos for more than 7 years now, and he also has the same view.
Can a professional editor take your boring content and make it fun? Yes, possibly. But if you're starting from a point where your footage is so boring and so uninteresting and probably just like all about you and has nothing to do with what your client's audience wants to see, then what I would compare that situation to is playing poker with like a bad hand. Is start off with something good. Like, why would you bet your business and your livelihood and everything you've got going on boring, uninteresting content that just talks about you and doesn't offer any value to anyone else? It doesn't make sense, right? So to starting off with good cards in a poker game means you thought about the content, it's valuable to other people, it's insightful, and people are going to walk away with a good taste in their mouth. They're going to know more about you, but not because you specifically talked about yourself, because you brought value to them, and in the process they learned about who you are because you are giving. It's not like, oh guys, like, I'm here to talk about everything. Like, that content's boring. You can have a professional editor go through that, but if it's just like always all about you and you're never sharing anything and you're never helping anyone, then like, boring. I'm like, people are gonna swipe. And unless it's all about you, like your journey, and therefore they're learning, I'm not, in my experience, editing does not make a project better. It's thought, and then the editing carries the thoughts and the creative ideas to the finish line that help you achieve your goals. What I would do to make sure, the simple test to make sure that you have the right elements in your videos, to make sure that they're captivating, is to watch your video and ask yourself, do I find this video interesting? If I was interested in this topic, would I watch this video? And be very, very honest with yourself. Like, watch the video. Is it boring? Like, come on. Let's be real. Is your video boring? Like, is there nothing dynamic changing? Is it just like a constant frame of just you and there's no text? There's nothing changing. Your voice is monotone and kind of like boring, or are you like alive and awake? Like, be honest with yourself. Watch this video back. would you show this? Would you be proud to show this to your mother? If the answer is no, then if you don't even want to watch it and your mother wouldn't even want to watch it, your audience definitely doesn't want to watch it. That is the test that you should go through with every single piece of your content is, would I be proud to show this to my own mother?
Mendy put it so beautifully. Editing doesn't make the project better, it's the thought that makes it better. Editing carries the thought and the creative ideas to the finish line to help you achieve your goals. But most of them forget this conveniently and sell in their videos. Hard selling is not something Mendy suggests his clients.
So I think possibly the biggest mistake that business owners are making today when starting video production is thinking in terms of selling. So when they go into making a video, it's, my product's amazing because it does this and this, and we're the only ones doing that. And it's very, like, if you compare this video to a human talking, this would be like a door-to-door salesman who's like, now he'd be like, hey, I know you had no interest or did not plan to speak with me today, but here I am showing up to you. Hey, want to buy from me? And it's what I and other people in the industry call hard selling. Is if you're constantly on hard selling mode and all of your videos are just selling, then it kind of loses people's attention. And if for the people interested in your product, they might purchase from you. But that's not the only goal of being online, having a website, having a social media presence. There's also the other goal is that people follow you. They're actively interested in your journey and they want to keep up with what you're doing. And when you just sell and you only talk about what you offer and what your business does, and that, like, you're kind of like just one track minded on selling. Are you a client? Oh, you're not a client? Well, I'm not interested in talking to you. Like, that sort of mindset makes people tune you out. And they're not going to be interested in you again until they want your product, which it could have been that they would have been interested in you even before they bought your product, and they wanted to hear about your journey and they wanted to hear your thoughts and ideas, but they tuned you out because all you did was try and get the money out of their pocket and into yours.
Editing a video involves a bunch of tasks, right? From ideation, scripting, production, editing, publishing as well. But the whole story boils down to engaging the audience. The idea needs to be carried through the video. Let's see what Mendy has to say about this.
In order to make sure that the feeling and vibe that you were going for and the goals that you wanted to achieve with your video actually come about, and you get those results, actually takes finesse, because throughout the process it's a creative process and things can be maneuvered and changed, and the enemy to a effective, productive, creative process is the words what if. Well, what if we had the text do that, and what if we did that? And in those situations, my advice is stick to your plan it out, and unless your plan makes it so that you just cannot continue, you realize something and you're like, wow, this would not work, then you change that one thing. Once you start the creative process, make sure that you really do your planning so that throughout the process you're not changing anything. I'm huge on this with my clients. They review their scripts and we line up shot lists with it, and then they sign it, and we confirm, like, we're moving forward with this. We cannot change this mid-creative process. And sometimes during the creative process you'll discover something and you realize, like, actually we shouldn't have had her smiling because it didn't fit the vibe. Okay, sometimes you overlook things and then you change that one thing, or you change as little as possible, because when you had the original thought and idea, you had a good idea. Provided that you had a really good idea, you need to carry this forth and not get distracted and not go off on the side creating what if ideas.
The world has turned online and remote collaborations are on the rise. Mendy has a couple of suggestions for those who have turned to internet to connect and collaborate.
So this is a huge element of today's video production world, where people can't necessarily meet up So they're doing exactly what we're doing right now, which is these remote interviews. It gives you the option and it opens the net of the possible people you can interview. It could literally be across the world in different time zones, and it just gives you a whole new network to interview, create these types of videos with, and it's wonderful to have new tools like Riverside and these different streaming recording platforms that make the quality quite great afterwards, and it gives you the ability to film multiple angles. The What I would boil it down to is, given this new opportunity and this this new interview style taking shape, we have actually started offering remote interviews as a service to businesses or podcasts where we'll go down, set up the mic and the light and the cameras, and record this person for you while you chat with them over Zoom. So the main things that we've learned along the way is, number one, don't tie your audio into the Zoom. Your audio should be completely separate. So Riverside does this for you. So if you're using Riverside, then you don't need to worry, because it's going to collect your audio file and give it to you afterwards, because you want your two audios to be isolated. That's a huge mistake, and to make is to have the audio overlaid with one another, and your editor will hate you or you'll hate yourself, and you don't want to go down that road. So don't interlace your audio together. Keep them separate and isolated. That's the number one thing. I would say secondly is, if one of your B angles is shooting you on the left and the other person is also, the B angle is shooting them from the left, then you both look like you're looking in the same direction. So when you try to edit, it's going to look like you're both looking in the same direction. It's just confusing. But if one of you is looking in one direction and one of you is looking in the other, then when you match it up, it kind of looks like you're looking at each other, whether it's across this virtual room. So that's the second piece of advice, is have one person film their left side of their face and have the other person film the right side of their face, and work from there, plan that out. And the third I would say is actually something that I'm picking up from you, which is prepare your interviewee, let them know the style questions you're going to ask, and really take the time to research them, because you really did look up my profiles and really got a feeling for who I was, and then asked me questions relevant to me. So that would be the third piece of advice, is people will feel way more welcome and comfortable on your podcasts and programs when you take the time to get to know them and who they are. Maybe even ask them for references, so you can ask close people. Depends how deep you want to go. Are you doing a documentary or not? But really asking people insightful and relevant questions is a wonderful way to make them feel welcome and comfortable on your show.
One thing I'd like to point out about Zoom is that Zoom is a real pain with unstable and poor connectivity, internet connectivity. So the recordings aren't really that good, and I speak that from first hand experience. So I switched to riverside.fm. Now, this is not paid commercial, but in my experience, Riverside has been a really good recording station for my content as well. Lastly, we come towards the end of the video. Mendy has some departing thoughts for those who want to get into video production.
The advice that I would give to a business owner if they were just starting out would be to take the time and figure out who their audience is, who's going to be watching these videos, and really speak to that person specifically. That's the greatest recipe for success, is to know who you're speaking to and then speak to their listening, and you'll find that all your projects will be productive. They'll actually achieve the results that you were looking for, and the money and time that you spend on these projects, which tends to be not a small amount, will be well spent, and you'll feel that your investment was well worth it.
That is all for today, folks. If you liked the video, like the video. Subscribe to the channel for more on podcasting and content. Leave a comment if you have a feedback or suggestions. I am Manali, a podcast producer, signing off. Bye.